Okay, let's talk some Rangers hockey. As a team, they have started the season 2-1 after a dominant 6-1 victory over the Penguins. It was a statement night for new head coach Mike Sullivan in his return to Pittsburgh. And now the Rangers, they turned their attention to a Sunday clash with the Capitals. Joining me to break it all down is the host of Puck Talks and a writer for Forever Blue Shirts, the one and only Matthew Mugno. Matthew, what's going on, man? How you doing?
You're the one and only, Dexter. I love it. You've been keeping New York sports on my YouTube algorithm all year. So love that and love to be on again.
No, I appreciate it, man. Oh, good to see you here. Glad you are well and everything is good. And the Rangers, they're doing well. They're off to a 2-1 start. So from your perspective, as someone who's very plugged in with the team, what have been the most encouraging signs early on with the Blue Shirts, and where do you still see room for improvement with them?
Well, there's three players that were X factors this year. Now it's a small sample size, but 3 games played. Adam Fox, 3 goals already. It took him 48 games to reach that mark. He's a high IQ defenseman. They value his two-way play more so on the defensive side and his smarts, but the fact that he's producing on the offense, like they need that as well. And we saw the team goes far when he's producing. He was, I believe, the ninth best single postseason performance for a defenseman in 2022, and they went to the Eastern Conference Final that year. Igor Shesterkin, 83 saves on 85 shots against to start the season. He's an X factor. He got paid that massive contract, $11.5 million per year for the next 8 years. He needed a strong start this year. The penalty kill is 5 for 5 this season. The power play last night against Pittsburgh, 2 for 4. I know we'll get to that. And depth has been, at least since last night, 24 hours ago, now a strength for the team. So there's a lot to be excited about. There's some more positives than I think some fans anticipated coming into this year. Also, 17 unique point scorers and 8 unique goal scorers.
And you know what the thing is here, Matt? It's tough to ask, even though I asked you the question. It's tough early in the season, right? Because it's just such a small sample size. We've only seen
Mhm.
3 games. We'll see 4 later today, but it's just such a small sample size. So you want to be encouraged about some things, but you know all teams are trying to get better as they get deeper into the season. Now, just to kick it back to last night, Mike Sullivan, his return to Pittsburgh on Saturday, that was an emotional one for sure. How important do you think was it for him and this Rangers team to come away with that statement 6-1 victory against his former club?
Well, I think you played this team to start the season at home, centennial jerseys, centennial season beginning. And for all of the changes in the offseason, a new head coach, you essentially swap coaches. Dave Quinn, an assistant now with New York, Mike Sullivan, the head coach in Pittsburgh for nearly a decade, won 2 Stanley Cups there, and Dan Muse on the opposite bench, and you lose on opening night on a lackluster offensive effort. They weren't able to score a goal. It was important to bounce back and to show that they were capable of bouncing back a few nights later against a team that will likely finish in the bottom of the standings. That sounds crazy for most hockey fans and for most sports fans who are used to Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin as those top players in the NHL, top athletes in North American sports. And the group, along with the trio with Chris Letang, is the longest tenured trio in American sports history. Now, with that, they aren't the same team that they were. But I think for Mike Sullivan on the emotional factor, you saw he got teary eyed there. Won 2 Stanley Cups. He coached two, no doubt, Hall of Fame players in his tenure there. I think it was very important to show that they were able to identify how they lost in the opening contest this season and turn that around and turn that into a massive victory last night.
Yeah, it was a big one, and we'll see how they can build on that victory. Before we get to that, we have to talk about Vincent Trocheck because he's out week to week with an upper body injury. How big of a loss is this for the Rangers in terms of face-offs, also two-way play, and then can't even count out his leadership down the middle? How big of a loss is it to not have Vincent Trocheck in the lineup right now where he's day to day?
Well, on the glassy ice sheet, he's played 3 straight seasons for the New York Rangers. That's 271 straight games, including 2 playoff appearances. One of those a run to the Eastern Conference Final, where he was a major factor for the team. And last season, he finished 3rd in the NHL in faceoff win percentage, 59.3% at the faceoff dot. So he is critical to this team. He may be one of the, if not the most important factor, I would say, for the program, as his winger is Artemi Panarin, his other winger Alexis Lafreniere. We know that there's been some pressure on the youngster to get going in his career, and he's with one of the best players in the NHL on his other wing. Now, overall, I think the team is more committed to back checking and getting into the defensive end. So I do think as a team unit, it's not like they're relying on Trocheck just in that position as a pivot. But the center position is historically thin for the New York Rangers organization. Noah Laba has been a surprise, plugged in at the 3C role. But other than that, this isn't a team that's built to lose many more centers. We saw that was part of the reason why Filipino was traded. He was unfortunately injury prone, very young, and they moved him for JT Miller, who was the team's 1C. Mika Zibanejad played in that position yesterday and scored a shorthanded goal. So I also think another part of this conversation is, where does Mika Zibanejad fit into the forward group? He was a right wing out of training camp because he wasn't very successful at center last season. Now he's the 2C. Let's see where he rolls with the center position. So I think Trocheck's injury actually brings more questions than answers. What was good was there was no fire last night in Pittsburgh. Without Trocheck, they were able to display strong back check, that the team does have depth when they're able to score and click together. And Noah Laba with 2 assists last night, so he got on the score sheet. He looks like a workhorse youngster for this team.
Yeah, and you know what? It's all good when you have depth. It's tested when guys like Trocheck goes down, and now you want to see how other guys step up. We'll see how Mika steps up into the role as a 2C and how that works for him. Wasn't so good for him, as you mentioned, in the center spot last year. Now, looking ahead to Sunday's matchup with the Capitals, this should be a test for the Rangers here through the first 3 games we saw them play, 2 games against Pittsburgh and the Sabres, teams that you don't expect to be at the top of the standings. But what are the biggest keys, Matt, for the Rangers to pick up their 3rd win in 4th games with a victory over the Capitals?
Well, it's the first set of 12 back-to-backs this season because of the Olympic break. So there's a lot of teams that are now forced to cramp in scheduling before February. We saw a little bit of that with the Four Nations face-off last year. We're seeing an extended version of that this year. It is exciting, albeit that NHL players will be returning to the best global sporting event in the world. So I think for tonight's matchup, the good thing is that some of that homework was last night. They had such a lead coming into the 3rd period that they didn't have to kill themselves to win the contest. I think that's where last night's game was a massive moral victory for the team. But this is the first big test. Alex Ovechkin, Ryan Leonard, Connor McMichael, Pierre-Luc Dubois. This team is firepower. And although we mentioned Malkin, who had an assist in that first game, he's historically a Ranger killer, 73 points in 78 career games. Sidney Crosby, obviously the all-world #1, arguably now, going up against Connor McDavid and Nathan MacKinnon in his older age. Ovechkin's still clicking. He broke the goals record set by Wayne Gretzky last season. He's showing no signs of slowing down, and he showed that against the Islanders last night. So I think this collective top 6 and even their depth, they're big, they're brawny, and they can score. How do the Rangers play against that physicality? Especially since tonight they're playing with a next man up mentality. Also, Jonathan Quick will likely get his first start. I believe 4 o'clock is the press conference that's being held with Mike Sullivan. So we'll see. It will likely be Jonathan Quick after Igor started 3 games. Can't imagine they'll play him back to back. And he's a keeper that won 11-7-2 last year. All things considered with how that season turned out. So how do they handle a bigger Caps lineup, physical, a goal-scoring lineup, and with limited rest?
All right, so keep an eye out for those things in the matchup. Tonight, 7 o'clock, the puck drops at Madison Square Garden. Rangers and Capitals there. That is Matthew Mugno, check him out, hosting Puck Talks, also writer for Forever Blue Shirts. Matt, always a pleasure to talk some Rangers hockey with you. We'll do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 10th year on the podcast. Steve and I created it when we were 15 years old, so it's great to be back here, and I can't wait to come back on. Last time we talked, I think, was in March, and hopefully there's a little more positive things going on in New York sports next time we chat.
Yeah, last time we talked, I don't think it was as positive. Also, let me say congratulations to you on 10 years of hosting the podcast. That is a beautiful thing. And
Thank you.
yes, we will see you again and talk some more Rangers hockey soon. Thank you, my friend.